Hey, it's Vicky. I'm back from Stanford for a design thinking bootcamp, and here are the 5 rules of innovative thinking that I learned there. Let's get to the first one. Don't plan, do this instead. We've all been taught, right? Think before you act. Don't be stupid. You have to be prepared, or else you're just swinging the bat at nothing. But actually, what I learned at Stanford is quite the opposite. Any of us who have been on this earth for several minutes know that things don't go to plan. And so the point is not to plan, but to act. The order is wrong. Don't think first and then act, but act first and then let that guide your thinking. Let that guide your planning for the next step. I'm definitely guilty of this. I've got some beautifully organized plans that I've produced and patted myself on the back, and then I never looked at it. I procrastinated for days, weeks, years for some projects. So don't plan, do. At Stanford, we were doing a project on reimagining communication in the hybrid world. Okay, I heard this and immediately my head was spinning. I gotta do these types of interviews. I gotta do this type of research. I gotta find out X, Y, Z. But when we were there was no laptop, no phones. You didn't even have access to the library. All you did was you heard the problem and then they're like, okay, let's go out there and let's interview some people on the streets. Let's find out what is the actual problem before we go solving for any of it. No procrastination was allowed. The problem with planning is that we're doing it out of context. Root your thinking in reality. Which leads me to number 2, order matters. You know, if you take a cup of rice and you pour water into it, the water doesn't overflow because it fills the gaps between the rice. But if you take the same amount of water and then you pour rice into it, the water is going to overflow. Order matters. It's not just about process and the step, it's about the order of the process that determines success. And especially in innovative thinking, we got to make sure we protect the thinking, the space as much as we can. You had the example with don't plan, do. Now I want to give you another example. DVF, desirability, viability, and feasibility. This is a framework for making good product. And good product 101, it's got to be desirable, it's got to be viable, and it's got to be feasible. Now, when we have these type of ideas, okay, here's going to be a new product, what do we do? The first thing we do is ask ourselves, is this going to be feasible? Do we have the technology to make it happen? Do we have the talent? Do we have the money? Do we have all of these resources that are necessary? If not, we shut it down. Then the second question we ask is it viable? Will it make us money? Right? And we think, oh, well, AI servers, they're so expensive. And, by the time they become cheap, we're going to have so many competitors that's going to drive prices down. I mean, I don't think this is the best business case. So, next idea. And with those 2 questions already, we're getting rid of, 99% of the ideas that are there. And if we're lucky, someone asks, is this desirable for people? Like, do we actually know that people will use this? Because this is actually a question that's not asked a lot. We have a lot of solutions that are built without a real group of people that it's going to serve. So what's wrong here? Right? We got the order wrong. Innovative thinking, as the D School at Stanford says, starts with desirability. Let's find out, do people even care about this problem? Do people actually care about the beginning of your idea? Because to be honest, we make a lot of stuff up. Right? Just as we mentioned in step number 1, we're planning, we're thinking, we're making all of these assumptions, and we don't test them until it's too late. So we want to start with the order of desirability. Do people actually want this? Figure this out before we even think about how can we make money from it? How can we actually make this thing happen? Most people want to shut down ideas. Why? Because you can only get certainty if you don't do something, right? If you don't do the idea is dead 100%. You have not wasted any time. But if your focus is on innovative thinking, then think about DVF in this specific order. Speaking of innovative thinking frameworks, let's talk about the next rule, which is anchor the idea in a simple framework. This is the power of simplifying the complex. Innovation is one of the most messy, unpredictable, creative acts. So how do you encourage innovation? It's actually with constraints, with frameworks, right? Remove all of the things that don't matter so people can focus on generating good. Even though the process is so messy, it fits into this beautiful 2x2 matrix. This is how you innovate. Is it insane? Is it too simple? Well, yes and no, right? Yes, it doesn't capture all of the details of innovation and the process around it. But at the same time, because it's made so simple, people have a literal framework, some sort of guardrails to hold on to, and they can slot all the nuances into the framework. At Stanford, we came back to this framework every step of the process, right? This helped us know where we are, where we're going. And every time we experience something new, a new learning, we're able to slot it into the right quadrant. We know where we are and where do the ideas belong. Charlie Munger talks about the lattice work of mental model. You have to hang your learnings onto something. You have to connect the learnings together. This is how you do it. You have to have a framework so that you know the context. And then you know what's important and you slot the learnings in. I talk about this a lot on this channel. I also teach a course on thinking frameworks. If you want to think fast, get others to understand where you're going, simplify the complexity for yourself and for others, then check out Thinking Frameworks. It's in the description. And speaking of standing out, let's talk about number 4, which is a surprising one, how to deal with egotistical, delicate snowflakes. And by snowflakes, I mean all of us humans, right? We're all very delicate. We all want to be praised. We all want to stand out. We all want to, whenever we raise our hand to say something, to have everyone say to us, oh, good job. Such a great idea. You're so smart. I mean, definitely, I have to say I do the same. But in reality, when we make decisions, right, we always converge to one idea. Maybe we combine, a couple of ideas together. Not everyone is going to get that gold star. And in the design thinking workshop, not only did I recognize it in myself, I also saw it when I was teaching the design thinking process in a workshop. If the person's idea was chosen, they're so smug and pleased with themselves. And everyone else felt so deflated and they're leaning back, they're not really participating anymore because they feel like, well, it's not my idea, so who cares? But when we're working in a team, right, we can't always be stroking everyone's ego. So how do we get everyone collaborative and work with all the delicate snowflakes that is the human race? And Stanford had an answer. We have to move forward. So the idea is about focusing everyone's attention on moving things forward rather than judging each idea. Having a team that's comfortable doing what's needed rather than trying to show off is going to change the entire way that the team works and the results that come out, because everyone will be focused on pushing that idea forward together. How do you do that? Well, there's quite a few ways that Stanford shared, and I'm going to share with you the one that's most applicable across different contexts. And that is, don't judge the idea, focus on the process. So instead of saying, hey, Vicky, your idea is amazing, let's choose this one, and have everyone think, oh my gosh, Vicky's so annoying, like, why her idea is not even that great? Instead of doing that, focus on the process and say, oh, this is a great way for us to move forward. Does anyone else have other suggestions that can also move us to the next step? Focus on the process, don't judge the idea. And that's how you're going to move together to the next step. Which brings me to number 5, importance of low resolution. This was a rule that I learned at Google as well. It's also what I experienced when I'm running my channel. And like Lululemon's founder said, if you see something happen 3 times, then you want to investigate further. And the idea is that special snowflakes, that is all of us, don't like to give feedback, especially if it looks pretty perfect. Just think about it. If a friend shows you a book they've been working on for 10 years and it's all bounded and beautiful and they ask you for your feedback, even if you didn't like it, you're not going to say it, right? As humans, we don't do that. But if they just showed you chicken scratch on some sticky notes to share with you the general structure, then you probably instinctively start to move the Post-its around, start to write your own, this is what I was imagining. It could be like this, it could be like that. Something that's too perfect doesn't invite participation. I mean, it's hard to receive feedback. It's hard to give feedback. We have too much to risk when someone asks us for feedback and we don't want to hurt their feelings. At the D School, we made really low resolution prototypes, right? We literally cut out cardboards to represent some Zoom screens, used some color stickies to be buttons on this imaginary software that we're building. It was so bad, but not only was it fun for us, it was so fun for the participants. They felt like they could start to imagine they could also participate in the process. This was that special moment, when we stopped thinking about planning, stopped thinking about ourselves and how we want to show up, but focused on the team, simplify things to a very low resolution basic idea, then everything started to fall in place. We started to learn. We opened ourselves up to new possibilities. And when the tech is low res, then we actually see the humans behind it and we're working together as a team, forgetting about all the planning and really focus on that human-centered design. So if you're curious about the different ways of thinking, check out this video here and check out the course in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!